I predict a new path-breaking president, our first woman president, and America's first president of mixed African and Asian descent, which kind of foreshadows where the US is going. We're rapidly becoming a majority minority country. Old white guys like me are on the decline.
In just 10 days' time, we might know who the next US president is as results emerge from across the states. But before we get there, these final days are going to be nail biting, not just for the candidates or for the American people. It really is on a knife edge, and calling this race seems nearly impossible.
Well, Allan Lichtman is known, I don't know whether it's a compliment or not, as the Nostradamus of American political polling. He certainly has a good record. He has correctly called 9 out of the last 10 presidential elections. That's going all the way back to 1984. And the one the question marks over certainly had a late surprise. Now, he uses a system of which he published under the name Keys to the White House. So let's speak to the distinguished professor of history at the American University, Allan Lichtman. I think I'm right in saying that last month you did make a call and you said that you thought Kamala Harris was going to win. Is that still your position?
Yeah, that is still my position. I issued my prediction deliberately on September 5th before the Harris-Trump debate that all the pundits saying was going to be so pivotal in deciding the election, because the big message of my system, the Keys to the White House, is that it's governing, not campaigning, that counts. And the keys gauge the strength and performance of the White House party. And I have not changed my prediction of a Kamala Harris win, despite all the vicissitudes of the campaign, which have gone in both directions. Let's not forget, Harris whipped him badly in the debate, and that didn't seem to move anyone or anything. But my prediction still stands, and I have a 40-year track record behind it.
And if you could summarize, why you think it's the case that she's likely to be elected, what is it?
Yes, I have 13 keys that have been right since I predicted Ronald Reagan's reelection in April 1982, nearly 3 years ahead of time, when 60% of Americans said he was too old to run again. It's a purely nonpartisan system. I've predicted the two most conservative presidents of our time, Reagan and Trump, along with liberals like Obama. And the way it works, of my 13 keys, if 6 or more go against the White House party, they're predicted losers. Otherwise, they're predicted winners. And here are the keys that I counted against Harris and the incumbent Democrats. My mandate key, because Democrats lost U.S. House seats in 2022. Incumbency, obviously Biden is not running. The vice president does not count. Foreign military failure. The Middle East is a disaster, a humanitarian catastrophe with no good end in sight. That's 3. And incumbent charisma. These charisma keys, I have 2 of them, are very high threshold keys. We're talking about a once in a generation, inspirational across the board candidate like Franklin Roosevelt, the Democrat, or Ronald Reagan, the Republican. Whatever you may think of Harris, she's only been a candidate for a little while. She hasn't risen to a status of an FDR. So that's 4 keys down, 2 keys short of predicting Trump returning to the White House and Harris losing. That's why I predict a new path-breaking president, our first woman president, and America's first president of mixed African and Asian descent, which kind of foreshadows where the US is going. We're rapidly becoming a majority minority country. Old white guys like me are on the decline.
And that might be said to be really the main motivation for MAGA, that old white guys want to fight back.
That's absolutely right.
Now, this prediction this time round you had quite a lot of heat in your direction, and you got into a bit of a spat with some of the forecasters who, working from polls, are saying actually things look like they're on Trump's side.
Yes, that was the same thing in 2016, where I defied the pollsters and all of the conventional wisdom to predict a Donald Trump win in the election. which did not make me popular in 90% plus Democratic Washington, D.C., where I teach at American University. But I did get a note after the election on the Washington Post article where I predicted Trump's win, and it said, "Congrats, Professor, good call," and in big Sharpie letters, Donald J. Trump. The keys are the alternative to the polls, which are snapshots. They are not predictors. They are abused as predictors. Remember in 2016, depending on the time of day you checked in with him, Nate Silver, the famous compiler of polls, said a 70 to 80% chance Hillary Clinton would win. Then when she loses, he says, "See, I told you, a 20% plus chance she could lose," which means if he can't be wrong, he can never be right either. I go right out on a limb and tell you who I think is going to win or lose. So I can be proven right or wrong for sure.
Have you had any abuse from Donald Trump for coming out against him this time?
No, but I'll have to tell you, I have never experienced, and I've been doing this, as I told you, since 1982. I have never experienced the kind of hate that I have been heaped on this time. I have received the most scurrilous, the most vulgar, the most violent, the most threatening kind of hate, absolutely unprecedented in over 40 years. The security of my family has been compromised. I've had to put the police on notice, secure, in a very strong way, our home. And I have to say, I attribute this to the toxic politics of violence and disorder promoted by Donald Trump. Before Donald Trump, sure, I got criticized. I've been criticized for 42 years, but never this kind of hate, violent and threatening criticism, and my family being put in jeopardy.
How worried are you about being wrong?
I'm always worried. I'm 77, and every 4 years I get butterflies in my stomach. My keys retrospectively go all the way back to 1860, when we had no planes, no automobiles, no radio, no television. Women couldn't vote. African Americans are enslaved. So they cover 160 years of enormous changes in our society, our politics, our demography, and our economy. But look, I'm not psychic Gene Dixon with a crystal ball. I'm not Speaker Mike Johnson who thinks the Almighty speaks to him. My system's based on 160 years of historical patterns. So I have a lot of confidence in it. But of course, there could be something so catastrophic to change that pattern. But the problem is, you never know it in advance. You can only recognize it afterwards. That's why in 2008, I didn't listen to the critics who said, "Oh, can never elect an African American president." I stuck with my Obama prediction. Or in 2016, when people said, "Oh, the Access Hollywood tape with Trump bragging about sexually assaulting women, that knocks him out. You got to change your prediction." I don't change my predictions on the fly. If I did, I'd be wrong a lot.
Allan Lichtman, thank you very much indeed. A man worth listening to at any rate. Thank you for joining us.